Welcome back to another Tuesday Tips at 2 with the Goldbergs. Special election coverage. Woo! Everyone's going crazy out there? Relax, it's going to be okay. I'm going to give you a quick little recap about the recent case that played out over here in Harris County that made it into national news and bring it back to an underlying theme of mine that a lot of you have heard from me over many years. When choosing judges in judicial elections, as happen in most states, federal judges are appointed by the president and then actually confirmed by the Senate, but on state level, they're voted on. So you have the opportunity to influence who will be the judge. And a big theme of mine has always been judicial elections, albeit cast in a partisan light, Republican versus Democrat, should not be seen that way. You should make your decision based upon other qualities that a judge should have. Good temperament, experience, background, how they conduct themselves, etc., etc. What sort of person are they? Do they have a bad track record or a good one? Those are things that you should look into. And if you don't know, then ask someone that practices in front of these judges, such as a trial litigator, family lawyer, criminal attorney. And if you don't have those options, turn to your local newspaper. Often they vet them out. Some local bar associations, such as the Houston Bar Association, takes a judicial poll and asks all attorneys that are part of the HBA, what do you think about this judicial candidate versus that judicial candidate? And those results are open to all and can help you make a good decision. Now, that might be a little bit too late as today's election day. Most of you have likely already voted or might not even vote at all, but it goes to prove the point that I want to make in now bringing in this case. This past week played out a very exciting case where local Republican activist Dr. Holtz, in unison with a few local Republican candidates, filed a lawsuit against the county clerk here in Harris County. The lawsuit itself was over the right for individuals to be able to drive through into a polling place and from their car select their preferences and vote. The lawsuit played out as it did, with the Republicans filing a lawsuit after 127,000 individuals had already made use of these drive-through polling places here in Harris County. It went through the district court up to the Supreme Court, with the Supreme Court being a very Republican Supreme Court. That Republican Supreme Court turned down this case. They said, no, we disagree. This case was then filed in federal court. It landed in front of Judge Hanen. It might be pronounced Hannon. I never knew, and I never wanted to ask for anyone to clarify for me and for me to expose myself as not knowing. Judge Hanen was appointed by George W. Bush, Republican. He heard the hearing. There was a big hoopla, a lot of demonstrators outside and media and a lot of others tuning on in, and he said, no, I'm not going to toss out this 127,000 votes. Now, he did make another point that kind of, to some degree, to some regard, validated the Republicans' overall argument. He looked at the election code and he said, as per the election code, all voting places must be in a building defined in the traditional sense. It cannot be in a parking lot. It cannot be under a tent. It must be in a building. So he refused to invalidate the 127,000 votes, saying that that's inherently unfair towards those voters that have already voted, especially when there's no sign that there is any fraud that had been committed. However, he warned, if he were voting today or tomorrow, the next day, he would not, well, not the next day, that would be after Election Day, but he would not go vote in that sort of a polling site, a drive-through polling site that's not in a physical building. Why? Because it's not an election code. And this goes towards the Republicans' point. We have to stick by the rules. That's it. If there are rules, you must stick to them. Now, of course, the accusation has been made against the Republicans, oh, you guys are trying to suppress votes. The Republicans are saying, no, we need an even playing field where everyone sticks to the same rules, especially at the time of elections. And while their intent is not for me to know, nor is it for anyone else to really know, I will say this. when you try to change up the rules at the last minute, you create chaos. And so you saw several different lawsuits playing out in other states where judges, on behalf of plaintiffs that have come on the Democratic Party, argued and agreed to accept later votes coming on in the mail, changing up the rules at the last second that could create chaos. Back to Judge Hainan and the Texas Republicans on over here, they said to the Republicans, fine, we get your point, but why didn't you bring up this lawsuit weeks or months ago before the election happened? Because the county clerk did submit these plans. It's not like he popped it up on everyone at the last minute. That was an argument that they didn't have a good comeback to. And so they lost their opportunity to have the 127,000 votes invalidated. Back to my overall point on over here. When casting your vote for a judge, it is not so much this guy is appointed a Republican or this guy has R next to his name or D next to his name, therefore he'll agree with me on all these topics. They won't. The Republican or Democratic affiliation of a judge might come on into play in their judicial philosophy or their background experience, but not in how they should apply their actual decisions. This is critical, and this is why when going and voting, you shouldn't think, oh, I can't vote for this guy because he's from the wrong party. You should instead think about these types of situations where good Republican justices heard a case brought by other Republicans and didn't agree, any more so than Judge Kagan, Justice Kagan, or Justice Sotomayor in the Supreme Court agreed with the Obama administration on multiple different rulings where they struck him down. Struck down his positions, that is. So, you heard my overall point, and now a final blessing may be a calm, tranquil, easy, and peaceful week and month as a whole for our community, for our country. Let's get through this election. No one panic. If you hear crazy news and you're receiving all sorts of accusations of various voter suppression, calm down. The system has worked now for 200 plus years. It will continue to work in this election. I'm Danny Goldberg. Please tune on in for the next Tuesday Tips at 2 with the Goldbergs. In the meantime, please tell me, do you think that it's okay to change up the rules for elections at the last minute? Or do you think that perhaps it's problematic? Different sort of question. And over the same identical issue. Even if the rules were changed, but now there is a new system and it's in place for multiple voters and multiple voters make use of it, should then those votes be cast out because of a mistake of some bureaucrat or county official? Posts, see you next week. Be well. God bless America.